Merry Christmas, everyone, and welcome to the Weeb Years. My name is Beanie.
Open me up, I'm a present. I'm MaeMae.
I'm Cheesecake.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hey, y'all.
Merry Christmas.
Hi there, Cheesecake. It's nice to have you on again.
We're so glad
nice
you're
to be
here.
back. I love the Weeb Years.
We only bring you out for special occasions. Cheesecake, for all of the listeners who didn't catch our Lucky Star episode, who are you?
I'm Crystal Cheesecake. You can call me Cheesecake. I use they, them, or am pronouns. I'm a bunny fairy doll VTuber on twitch.tv/Crystal Cheesecake. I like to do art. I like to play video games. I'm just a sweet little wholesome goober, as far as I understand.
You really are. You are the physical manifestation of the concept of whimsy, and as such, it only felt appropriate to bring you on for this episode.
Bold of you to assume that I have a physical manifestation.
It's Christmas time, and when you cover anime on the internet at all, you are legally obligated to talk about Tokyo Godfathers on Christmas. So since you're the guest, we'll start with you. Cheesecake, had you ever seen this movie before this?
No, I never even heard of it.
Oh.
I had hardly even heard of Satoshi Kon before this movie.
Oh, this is gonna be fun. What about you, MaeMae?
Oh, I had never heard of this.
Really?
As per usual, I think I've seen like a poster of this once.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially in VR chat, actually. But I, again, never heard of this, never seen it. I still don't know who Satoshi Kon is.
Oh, that's amazing, honestly. I'm so much more excited to talk to you guys about this now. I have loved this movie for years. I think I want to say the first time I watched it was back in middle school, potentially.
Wow, really?
And then I do my best to make it a Christmas tradition, at the very least, like every other year or so. I love this movie.
That's nice.
Tokyo Godfathers was released in November of 2003 by Studio Madhouse and directed by the legendary Satoshi Kon, who is also known for such works as Perfect Blue, Paprika.
Mm-hmm.
He does tend to be known for a lot more like dark and psychological stories, so Tokyo Godfathers is certainly an outlier in his repertoire. Look at me pulling out big boy words like repertoire.
Repertoire?
Repertoire.
Also worth noting, the screenplay was written by both Kon as well as Keiko Nobumoto, who along with creating Wolf's Rain is known for having worked alongside Shinichiro Watanabe on almost all his major works, so, Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, etc.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, there's some pedigree to this one.
I feel like this movie... I've never seen any of Satoshi Kon's other works, but with all of the other ones being so much more psychological, I can kind of see where that comes through in Tokyo Godfathers. Like, it's not psychological horror by any means. It certainly deals with some more serious topics, but it's definitely a movie that you can think hard about, and new meanings will come to mind.
Yeah, that's definitely what I was getting out of it.
Now, in 2004, the film was released on DVD in the West by Sony Pictures, but very notably, was not actually given an English dub. The movie only just got an official dub in 2020 after G-Kids picked up the license and gave it a 4K remaster.
I was wondering about that.
That's interesting.
Also, very notably, this caused a little bit of confusion between us. Cheesecake, how many times have you seen this movie now?
I've seen it 3.5 times. I watched it once in the dub, I watched it once in the sub, and then I sort of skipped around and watched some here and there, and then just before recording I watched it again in the dub, just to freshen up.
The dedication.
It's a good movie. It's easy to watch so many times.
That's fair. Yeah, I didn't know that it had gotten a dub until we started doing research for this movie. So when I told everyone, hey, we're doing Tokyo Godfathers next, I didn't bother to say whether we were doing the dub or the sub like I usually do, because I thought the sub was all that existed. And then Cheesecake went and watched the dub first, much to my shock.
For the record, the dub voices are very good. Like, the dubbing is fantastic.
It really is.
I'm very interested to hear about them. Okay, so both of you have seen the dub.
Yes.
Yeah.
For once, I watched the dub and not the sub.
Oh, cool. I've only seen the sub still. So, Tokyo Godfathers follows a trio of homeless people on the streets of Tokyo during the holidays. You have Gin, a grumpy old alcoholic man, Hana, an eccentric trans woman, and Miyuki, a teenage runaway. On Christmas Eve, the three of them stumble upon a newborn baby abandoned in the garbage, and at Hana's behest, the three of them take the child, who Hana names Kyoko, under their care until they can track down her mother.
I love this movie.
This movie is so good.
It's really so
This
good.
movie's really good.
It's so hard to even start talking about it because all I really want to say is, holy cow, this is a good movie.
There's so many turns and twists. You really get an understanding of what each main character has gone through and what that has to do with the decisions that they make in the movie. And it's all so compelling.
It's
I love
so
it.
compelling. I think almost every other note I took on this one is, this is bonkers, what am I watching?
Like, you can hardly go 15, 20 minutes without something insane happening. Whether it's like a crazy plot twist or something just like wild suddenly happens and gets unaddressed. Do we know why in the first like 10 minutes or whatever of the movie, a moped just crashes into the like pedestrian crossing and takes out a couple pedestrians and then is never acknowledged?
It does not
It's
get
never
addressed.
mentioned. I think it's just there to set the tone of the movie, which I would argue it does a very good job of.
Yeah, I would agree with that one.
So we're going to do something a little bit different for this episode than how we usually cover movies. Instead of doing a sort of beat-by-beat coverage and talking about things as they happen in the movie, we're just going to kind of round table our thoughts, because we're going to have enough to talk about as it is.
Right.
And once again, because you're the special guest, Cheesecake, what did you think of the movie?
Altogether, I think it's fantastic. It's presented in a way that's like, how do you put it? Like realism and whimsy in a perfect intersection. Spirituality, not so much spirituality. I mean a little bit, I guess.
There's a little bit of spirituality in there.
Yeah, like realism and whimsy, belief in outside forces, and hope and love and suffering and how we get through it.
For a movie about the suffering of homeless people, this is a surprisingly uplifting and cheerful film.
Right. It actually is a really like positive, like even parts that seem to be like really bad, like something really bad is going on, there'll be like music in the background or ways that the characters are animated that just like sort of point out the absurdity of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, you could say that your comment on realism and whimsy really nails it, I think, because even in real life, when things are going wrong or something ridiculous has happened, it's still a very human thing to laugh in these situations or even stay high-spirited for whatever reason it might be happening. But like this film never loses that. Like these are people reacting to something in such genuine reactions.
Yeah.
This is going to sound like a criticism to the audience at first, but I promise it's not. A major driving force of this film is contrivance.
Yeah.
At every turn, the main characters are greeted by some coincidence or happenstance that might as well be fucking divine intervention. Like, need to find the employee of a host club? Good news, the man whose life you just saved owns said club. And that's one of the minor ones. Some of them get batshit.
Yeah, the coincidences are unmatched.
And it feels like that's the point of the film, sort of the point of the message.
So, I found an interview done with Satoshi Kon during the release of the film, where he talked about how disappointed he was that the logical thinking of modern media had basically removed audiences' whimsy centers.
Aww.
And he wanted to make a movie where people could be reminded that miracles and coincidences can happen in the real world too.
Oh, yeah.
What a perfect concept for a Christmas movie. Holy cow.
I love it. It's so good.
No, it really does. Like, and I'm watching this with my house, of course, and all of these coincidences are happening and all of these things. And I turn to one of them and I say, this is a quintessential holiday movie. This is a quintessential Christmas movie because there's nothing like, they are coincidences, but they're really nothing short of like a miracle. And you're never really pulled out because of that. It's just like, oh, this thing happened and it's plausible. It could happen, but oh, wow. Like, what is the rate of coincidence at this point for this specific thing to happen, for this other specific thing to happen? And that is such an inherent Christmas movie trait. And it was really refreshing to see that through a director not from the West.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was very cool to see this concept played out in a completely unexpected way.
It is incredibly noteworthy that Tokyo Tokyo Godfathers is one of the very, very few, if not potentially only, like, rather spiritual Christmas films or Christmas media to come out of Japan, because Japan Christmas is very much a, like, non-secular commercial holiday. It is not very much a religious holiday at all like it is in the West.
Oh, this movie is pretty heavy on the spirituality, pretty heavy on the religious views on things.
Not preachy, though. Very important to note, not preachy.
Isn't it supposed to be... I'm not a Bible person, but isn't it kind of supposed to be, like, an analogous retelling of, like, the Three Wise Men? I could be wrong.
No, actually. I'm so glad I get to bring this up already. Tokyo Godfathers is it's loosely based on a short story from 1913 called The Three Godfathers, which has inspired a number of different films, including the first Ice Age movie.
Oh my god. Yes.
Okay. Oh my god, wait, you're right. No way.
Oh no. You might not know this, but Ice Age is one of, like, my top 5 favorite movies of all time.
I did not know that. It kind of makes sense. You're a furry and that Sabretooth is kind of hot.
Okay, we can do our own episode on Diego alone. No. But prehistory is one of my, like, favorite things. The Pleistocene, the Holocene, let's talk about it. Maybe not here. But no, you've just blown my mind with this connection, because this is the same movie told completely different.
Oh, man.
That's amazing.
You're watching Ice Age after this recording, aren't you?
Truly, it was on my list to watch anyway, because it's a good winter movie, but now it is skyrocketed to the top of my watching list.
I think something that definitely helps the audience accept all of these, like, coincidences and contrivances, or however you want to think of them, is the fact that this movie is fucking hilarious. The comedic timing is so on point.
It's so good. Even, like, the expressions, like, how they're expressing anything that happens to them it's still genuine, but my god, it's hilarious.
Both the dialogue and the physical comedy are both just top notch.
They're so good.
Yeah.
I love the little touch that all of the homeless people are just insanely good at jumping fences. Those things don't mean anything to them. Also, despite being legitimately very funny, the movie also, unsurprisingly, covers a lot of very dark themes.
Oh, yeah.
Homelessness, of course, but also, like, there's transphobia, abandonment, suicide. There's a lot of, like, very heavy stuff. And the fact that it's able to tackle all of those things, be a comedy, and not feel exploitative is legitimately pretty impressive, especially for fucking 2003.
Yeah, no, and there's certain things that you see off the bat, and we're probably gonna get into this a little later, but some of those things, they made me so wary to watch this movie. I was on guard until the, like, 2 or 3, like, ridiculous things happened, because I was so ready to be in a bad mood about it. I guess I was waiting to be offended.
Gosh, I wonder what you could be talking about.
And it's not just that. Like, you're introduced to these 3 homeless people. How are they going to handle talking about homelessness? They find a baby. Are we going to talk about infant abandonment? Like, what's going on there? But you get all of these labels, and then they are acknowledged and subverted in the most human ways. And it made me feel kind of bad for waiting to be offended.
I get that.
But then it really reminded me of, like, the human experience and how we really can't judge people just based on the first 5 seconds of interacting with them. Like, you can't do that.
Dude, in the beginning of the movie, I was like, oh my god, they do not take it easy on the personal jabs. They get at each other's throats. They're not afraid to, like, say what's on their mind, for better or worse, honestly.
Yeah, no, these are real humans having real fights with each other.
And honestly, it's kind of nice to watch. Like, even as they're saying these horrible things to each other, you know that it's okay because they are so close.
Yeah. They're family.
It makes you realize that they are a family and they do care about each other, because you don't say those things to people that you don't know.
Right. And that's a huge theme of this movie, is family and the different ways that family is and isn't.
Yeah. Well, and even a step out of family, how community really truly is.
Oh, absolutely.
Like there's a scene with some aunties, and I just felt so at home in that because they're standing there gossiping, and I'm like, Auntie's gonna gossip, of course, but it just feels so real.
I don't know where Satoshi Kon in 2005 got all of this understanding about the queer experience, because wow.
Yeah.
Also 2003. Real quick, I want to make sure I get a chance to mention this before we go too much further. Sweet Christ, this animation is gorgeous.
Oh my
yeah.
God, that's my first note.
Also, because I'm a dork, I love that the film opens with diegetic credits. Oh, eat that shit up.
That was
yeah, it does, doesn't
so
it?
beautiful.
Do we think enough people in our audience know what diegetic credits are, or should I explain that?
You should explain that.
Yeah, so like non-diegetic means that it does not exist within the real world, the air quotes real world, like the world of the film. And then diegetic means it is a part of the real world. A very common place that you hear diegesis being used is in musicals, and it's like, oh, is the song diegetic or not? Is it being performed on a stage in the story of the film itself, or is it just like in the sequence of someone's mind? Diegetic credits are one of my favorite things, where it's like, oh, because in this movie it's like the names of all of the people who worked in the movie are showing up on like all of the different billboards and signs as the characters walk through Tokyo, and that's so nice. It's so fun.
Yeah. Diegetic credits leads me to talk about the thing that was most impactful for me, I think, was the environmental storytelling. So we've got our three main characters, but then we really have a fourth main character, and it's Tokyo.
You read the same fucking interview I did, didn't you?
No, I absolutely did not. No, and I barely even like registered it until the very end, and I was thinking back to all the environmental storytelling that's going on. In a lot of shots they're comparing a photo to where they're standing, so that they can kind of figure out where they are in the world. And that's a very cool nod to how they're interacting and navigating that space. But it also made me start paying attention more to the backgrounds and the city itself, because it provides, and by it I do mean the city of Tokyo, provides both avenues to push the story forward and also roadblocks, sometimes literally, to keep them from going where they need to go. And that's insanely cool. Like, I love when the environment makes choices or forces characters to make choices that they otherwise wouldn't have made.
I really love that you brought up the whole thing about Tokyo feeling like a character just completely on your own, because I had a whole thing I was going into about in the same interview that I mentioned earlier. Kon was also talking about how he thought that the movie had four main characters: Gin, Hana, Miyuki, and the city of Tokyo.
Yay! I did good.
You get a gold star for media literacy.
I haven't lost my whimsy.
He talked about how he wanted to portray Tokyo as a living being with a soul, and for the audience to feel like the city itself was watching over the other three main characters and helping them on their journey.
Oh, I see you, Satoshi Kon. I see you.
In a way, I just saw that as like God's influence. And I'm I'm not a Christian, but I feel like when I was watching, that was the message that I got.
That is definitely a purposeful intent of the film, is a number of the, again, we'll say coincidences that happen to the main cast. It is supposed to kind of be nebulous about, like, was this divine intervention? Or, because, again, it is really noteworthy just how spiritual, like Christian spiritual, this is for a Japanese film. It's really neat to talk about.
Oh, there's one point about the spirituality that I would like to point out, and that is the presence of angels throughout.
Yeah.
Which really startled me until you get almost a literal representation of one. But just to see that visual symbolism shining through is really cool.
Yeah.
I think my brain categorizes this movie very close to The Prince of Egypt. And like, this is a Christian movie, but it's not Christian. That doesn't make any sense, but I think you know what I mean.
We're borrowing
like, it's a Christian
a lot.
story, but it's not preaching.
Yeah.
Like, this movie, it doesn't present all of these, like, potentially divine things and be like, and look at how good God is. This is why you should believe in God, because look at all that he can do for you, especially on Christmas time. It's just, here are these fantastical things that are happening, and it's kind of left up to interpretation just how divine those happenings may be.
I like that they let you make your own mind up about it. I appreciate that.
That's something that we didn't necessarily touch on just yet, but like there's a lot of wild bullshit that happens in the movie. Wild bullshit / positive, to be clear. But it does kind of ease you into it. Like it sprinkles in all of these gentle little coincidences before by the end it's just like absolute buck wild crazy territory. And I think that really fits into what Cohn was going for, where it's like he wanted people to feel like, oh yeah, this kind of thing can happen in the real world. Like magic and coincidences and whimsy are a thing that exist, and I think he eases people into it very well.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the part I've been most excited for. I cannot wait to have this conversation with you guys. It is time to talk about Hana.
Let's talk about Hana.
The best trans representation I've ever seen in anime, maybe outside of anime.
Quick disclaimer that I want to put out there. All 3 of us are queer.
Yeah.
2 of us are trans, and none of us are trans women.
Nope.
That's
in no
true.
way do any of us claim to know what it's like to be a trans woman specifically, nor do we claim to speak for trans women.
No.
With that in mind, if any trans women listening to the segment would like to chime in with their views on the topic, either in the comments or on social media, we would love to hear what you have to say. We are just 3 well-meaning jackasses of vague queerness trying to do our best to speak on something we care about.
And we do care about both anime and trans women.
There's definitely parts of her experience in this movie that I really related to.
I find myself at a loss when it comes to how to talk about Hana. The reason why I'm so excited to talk to you about this is because I don't know how to talk about it. On the surface, she feels like every gross trans stereotype in the book. Like, she has very masculine features, she's flamboyant and boisterous, and her identity is often played for laughs, but somehow she still feels like good trans rep. And I know I'm not the only one who thinks this either. Hana is on so many lists of, like, the best trans rep in anime and everything. I have spent the last couple weeks trying to articulate my thoughts on her, and I have come up with bubkiss. I am really hoping you guys have a better way to articulate how this character manages to be some of the best trans rep we've ever seen, despite on the surface appearing pretty offensive, really.
I don't think the jokes about her being trans are necessarily played for laughs. I think it serves the portrayal of the characters pretty well. Like, it serves to characterize Gin as, yeah, he's making transphobic jokes, but
It's
Scratch
hard, right?
that. Yeah, it is hard.
It's hard.
It's in a way that humanizes her. I didn't think I would have trouble talking about this.
The best I've been able to articulate is that her identity is the source of comedy, but it's never really the punchline?
Yeah.
Kinda?
Like, I think a great example is when they're, like, in a train station or something, and Hana's holding the baby, and there's just a random passerby woman. And it's like, miracles do happen.
Right. Because earlier in the movie, that was the person handing out soup and like the soup line, and Hana was making a joke about like, give me 2 servings, I'm eating for 2, and like pats her belly, and you find out shortly after that the second serving was for Miyuki.
Yeah.
But she's like pats her belly, and the woman giving out the soup is like, what the fuck is she talking about? And then later sees her carrying the child and is like, whoa.
Oh, that was the same lady?
Yeah.
Wow.
I love that.
There was a miracle.
I think a really easy way to talk about Hana is other people dehumanize her in their language and their reactions, but it never stops how she feels, how she believes. And I think that's a really important part of the trans experience, is how you feel about yourself, because it's the armor that you put on every day. It's the way you interact with the world. And I feel like she's never robbed of that in the way that I've seen other trans characters be completely robbed of that.
Oh, absolutely.
I will bring up, when I was watching, I had a script pulled up because I did not have subtitles, and I pretty much need those to function. And in the script, which I assume would have been the subbed script, the way they talk about Hana, and the way Hana talks about herself in some scenes is horrific.
Really?
Yeah.
And in the dub, all they had to do was change some of the terms they used, and maybe some of the delivery, I suppose. I don't have context on delivery because I haven't watched both, but just those minor details made it a completely different vibe.
That is something very important I wanted to note.
Yeah.
The earlier versions of this film, the official release that was put out by Sony Pictures back in 2004, I believe, and pretty much all of the fan sub versions that came out at that time period, varying levels of slurs and incorrect terminology being used.
There's a couple in like the modern dub, but they're, dare I say, relatively mild and super reclaimable.
Yeah.
Also, I would argue contextually appropriate. Like, the bad people are using the bad terms.
Yes.
In a lot of these earlier versions, again, I believe including the official subtitles that were put out for Sony, like, she's just straight out referred to by slurs that aren't really used anymore. Mm-hmm. So you do need to be aware of, like, which version you're watching.
Another reason to watch the fantastic dub.
Yeah, the dub really saved it there.
That also segues into another thing that I thought was very important to mention, especially when you consider the point of this podcast, which is, does old anime stand up to modern audiences and that sort of thing? Mm-hmm. It was only in the last couple of decades that Japanese culture really started to view a separation between trans women, cross-dressers, and gay men. At the time this movie came out, the majority of Japanese people still kind of viewed them all under the same umbrella.
Right.
Hana is a heterosexual trans woman, but of course a number of characters talk about her as if she was a gay man. A modern Western audience might take issue with how she is portrayed, or at the very least by be a bit confused by the intent, but she is absolutely a trans woman.
Oh yeah.
That is a thing that I saw a lot of, like, confusion of looking up, like, old reviews and such, where audiences back then were a little confused, like, what is Hana supposed to be exactly?
Oh boy, this episode's retro views could be
shudder.
Spicy.
Preemptively, don't worry.
Okay.
It really reminded me of this. That might be a wild pull. Have either of you ever watched the movie Chasing Amy?
No, I haven't. I don't think I'm familiar at all.
I have never seen this movie.
Chasing Amy is a movie from the 90s. I love it. It is a very contentious film because it is about a bisexual woman who identified as a lesbian until she fell in love with a man. And a lot of people take the wrong things from the movie. They see it as like, they think the intent of the movie is like, oh, all a lesbian needs is a good dick, you know, that kind of horrible thing. Right. But it's actually about how even in that time period and even within queer communities, like, there would be still ostracization. I shouldn't have tried using that word. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of biphobia within the gay community in the 90s. And it's a lovely movie. I love this movie so much. It is hard for newer and, I'm just going to say it, younger audiences to watch because a lot of terminology has not aged well. A lot of the worst of it comes from the character who is specifically supposed to be a shitty homophobic person. But you also got to remember that in the 90s, just the language that queer people used for themselves was very different. Yeah. Like, we called ourselves things that aren't really used anymore, and it can be very off-putting for modern people, especially modern queer audiences. And I feel like Hana's portrayal kind of falls into a similar little category of, like, I promise this was okay.
The way queer culture has shifted a whole lot in the past couple decades. Even in the past, like, decade, the past 5 years, things change really quick. Yeah. So I can really see how it would be so much different.
No, and you're right. Like, our community has changed radically since this movie came out, since the 90s, since ever. And so keeping we say this a lot around here. Our modern lens, when used to view these older pieces, it's important to understand, the culture it's coming from, which is inherently different from our own. It's important to acknowledge those things, and we can still take away good lessons and things from that. One of the notes that I took when I was talking about this was, even with some of these updated lines and some of this story writing, you can still see some problematic material. Mm-hmm. And I guess it's representation still. We still want the representation, but a lot of those first steps into positive representation, or even just human representation, can be really rocky. And I really think this was one of the biggest steps in the right direction. And I think there's so much value there that could be overlooked if we're not thinking about things like critically. But regardless, I adore Hana. I really love her as a character. She feels like a real life human. She just has human reactions and human dialogue, and even like in her movements, some of her are really exaggerated and goofy because she's being exaggerated and goofy.
And so many things in this movie are also exaggerated and goofy.
Oh, everything is.
So it's not out of place either. It doesn't feel out of place or offensive. It's just another level of characterization for Hana.
Absolutely.
To put it into modern terminology, Hana is a theater kid.
Hana's absolutely a theater kid. There's a scene, you'll know what I'm talking about, where she visits her family, and seeing all of them was incredibly uplifting as a queer person, knowing when this came out, but very specifically because of their ages.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna tear up now. I teared up then because they weren't all young and beautiful, not by any means, and that is so important in our community.
Fuck, this is a good movie.
It's such a good movie.
And that's like the part I'm most excited to talk about with Hana. We are taking all of the discussion of how she's treated and pushing it to the side, and we're talking about who she is and who her community is and what that means to her and what that means to us as queer people watching.
Yeah. And it was so impactful as a queer person to watch a queer person on screen go to her family and be welcomed with open arms and be taken care of in that moment, and reminded that she has a community for that.
And that's why I think that this character is so important as queer representation, because it shows that this love and community can be found outside of what normal support systems are quote unquote supposed to be.
Yeah. God,
and that's what I think.
Movie. Fuck.
That's one of the things that I think is so beautiful about this movie and Hana's character in it. That's what hit me about this movie as a queer person, that love and support can come where you don't expect it to, or it can come from somewhere that other people might not understand. And that doesn't matter if they don't understand, because it's meaningful to us. Gosh, I sure am bored. My favorite podcast only uploads every other week, so all I can do until the next episode comes out is cry into my Haruko Haruhara body pillow.
Reverse those tears back into your eye holes, sad listener person.
We're here to solve all your sadness problems.
And also promote ourselves financially.
Oh my gravy! It's Beanie, Laurel, and MaeMae from the Weeb Years, my favorite anime podcast I was just crying about.
Silly listener person, didn't you know that the Weeb Years has a Patreon with tons of exclusive bonus content?
You get access to exclusive recordings and videos, read the notes we take while doing research,
plus you can get new episodes 3 days early. That makes you better than everyone else for 3 whole days.
Wow, that all sounds so cool. I wish I had the $100 a month it costs to access all those amazing extra goodies.
Silly listener person, you can access all that fantabulous bonus material for only $5 a month.
Sugoi!
Haha, never say that again.
Just go to patreon.com/theweebyears to cure all your boredom and sadness forever.
Sorry about your wall, by the way.
So, it is Retroviews time.
Retroviews!
as a Christmas gift to myself, I'm going to break the rules a bit.
Oh.
What?
I've started to find that with the Retroviews segment, that when it comes to wildly acclaimed titles like this, it's way more fun and interesting to just purposefully look for the negative reviews and see what they say about things.
Oh.
But we're going to do something especially obtuse today.
Oh, that sounds naughty. Get it?
Ooh.
I have a single review for you. This is from a MaeMae list user, and it is from 2025.
Oh.
You are breaking the rules.
Normally, we wouldn't look at modern reviews in the Retroviews segment, but for one thing, I found this one interesting because it is the film's only negative review on Mal.
Really?
And I also think what this user says is really worth us touching upon.
Okay.
And as usual, since Cheesecake is the guest, Cheesecake, if you would do us the honor.
Approximately 80% of this movie boils down to trans women are ugly, or trans women are delusional men. This is particularly difficult to ignore for the first half of the movie, where transphobic jokes are pretty much the only thing that gets screen time. But even after they decided to lay off a bit, I still couldn't get over that bad taste in my mouth. The movie is not without redeeming qualities. The themes of parenthood, remorse, forgiveness, and complicated familial relationships are all well portrayed throughout the film. But even if it wasn't for the aforementioned transphobic caricature being the designated comic relief throughout the film, it would still be mediocre by Satoshi Kon's standards. I'm not saying that everything Satoshi Kon makes has to be psychological, but if this is what he has to offer in other fields, it's good that he mostly stuck to his niche.
So do you see what I mean about this being relevant to what we were talking about earlier?
Yeah, that was scathing, though. Oof.
So this movie is really good in many, many ways, and it's, like, fantastic. It's something that the director has stepped out of his way to make, and he made it really well. However, I have one hang-up, and that's why I think the movie is horrible.
Well, okay. I'm gonna devil's advocate for a minute here. I'm going to make an assumption that I don't feel like is wrong for me to make. Whoever wrote this is probably a younger queer person. And I think you and I think any of us here, if there was a different piece of media that otherwise was good or at least acceptable, but it had like very bad, very offensive transphobia or homophobia or just anything in there, like regardless of the rest of the film's quality, we'd probably be very upset and write it off because, hey, I don't care how good the rest of this is, it is offensive and I don't like it. And I think that this particular young queer person is not looking at it from the right angle, but I can understand in that mindset why you would not want to praise something that you are offended by. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I guess so.
Like, let me be very clear. I think that whoever wrote this is wrong and that they are not looking at it correctly, but I can understand sort of where they're coming from.
I think if you watched this movie and you thought that Hana was being portrayed as ugly or a delusional man, then that's a problem with you. I'm gonna be honest.
They are absolutely taking the wrong thing away from this film. But it does also feed into what we were talking about earlier, where I can see modern and particularly young queer modern audiences maybe having trouble. I also do wonder which version of the movie this person might have seen.
That's also true.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. And, we have no real way to answer that. But did they watch the sub from 2003 or did they watch the dub from 2020? Because they are startlingly different in the way that the dialogue carries on.
I feel like, though, even if you watch and this is coming from not having watched the original, like, fan subs or like, original subs or anything like that, if you try to understand why they're saying those things, then it makes a little more sense, and it's not just blatant transphobia.
I do. It's been a very long time since I watched any of the old subs, any of the less modern subs, we'll say. But remembering as much as I can and thinking about, like, okay, let's take this modern version and just any time that another character is talking about Hana and Hana's identity. Let's just replace whatever word they use with whatever outdated slur would have been appropriate for 2003. That would kind of go back to my argument about it being period appropriate, and it's like, no, like, we don't, like, it's not acceptable today, but that is what they would have said at the time. So, like, those terms aren't necessarily being used against Hana as much as it is just, that is
in regards to her.
That is how people would refer to her in that time period if they weren't on the ball. So it's unfortunate, but again, it's not necessarily like, even if you're looking at the version that still has all of the slurs, I wouldn't necessarily call the movie transphobic. I would just call it of its time, which some people would argue there isn't really a difference. I kind of would, but we don't super have to get into that.
There can be overlap for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely overlap, but not acknowledging the difference is unhealthy.
The thing is, all of the characters in this movie are very intentionally portrayed as human beings who are flawed, and they're in situations that are bad, and they're making the best of it. And so, real human beings like Hana exist. A lot of them. And they're... I don't know. I don't like this review.
This review is understandably harsh. You know, being called a slur in any capacity, it hurts. It's terrible.
Oh, yeah.
And so when you run into media that is hurtful, a lot of the times it's really hard to get past that. And I have a lot of respect for that. Like, you're going to emotionally react to media, and sometimes it's going to be negative. I just feel like their negativity might be a little bit misguided.
Misguided and misdirected, both, I would say.
No, okay. Misdirected is a better word. That their negativity is misdirected simply because, and if Beanie is right, this young queer person does not have the lived experience. And, you know, as we're talking about this, it occurs to me that most of the anime that we watch is not indicative of the human experience. Like, it's fanciful, it's got, you know, sci-fi elements, fantasy elements, whatever. Not all of them, of course, but like the overwhelming majority of anime as a genre doesn't touch on real lived experiences as often.
Yeah.
Especially not in the way that this movie does. I feel like this is an outlier. There's plenty of anime and media and all of those fun things that we cover on this show that speak to the human experience, but not within the same frame as this movie does, because this is very real.
Yeah.
And so this poster doesn't seem like they have the lived experience to build up their armor against people being awful to each other in the queer realm. So specifically being transphobic. And I feel like we as older viewers that live through this time period, we kind of have a built up armor to it. That's not to say that we're immune. Like I said a while ago, it's a disgusting feeling seeing my sister in queerness, my sister in community, experience something that's hurting her. Like that's horrific. I hate feeling that way. That's why I was so guarded at the beginning, because it feels like every interaction with her is going to be a joke or at her expense. But when you get that at the beginning and then you get to know her more, you can really see that, you know, Hana is happy with herself, maybe not her choices, but her gender, her identity. Those things are set in stone. You know, she's very confident. She's in a comfortable place with that. And so these people saying these things to her are not chipping at that armor. Not really. And so this person that has written this review might miss that because they're so hurt by, you know, the slurs at the beginning.
Something I want to make very clear that I regret not making clear at the start of this segment is looking at this person's review, which again, I am going to work under the assumption that I feel is pretty accurate, that this is probably a younger queer person writing this review.
Right.
Looking at this was not intended to shit on them or anything like that, even though it might have come off as that, and we apologize. The intent of it was, this is also going to sound shitty because it's going to make me sound like a fucking know-it-all, but like, as older queer people, we would like to encourage the younger queer community to
have an understanding of the people and struggles that got us to where we are now, right?
That's a good way to put it that doesn't come off as too condescending. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
No, like, I was a teenager freshly out as queer on Tumblr
Oh,
back in the day. Like, I absolutely got overly offended at things that, looking back on it, really weren't that big of a deal. Like, I was definitely part of the PC police at the time period. So I get it. I understand being a young queer person who is not yet used to the realities of the queer experience. God, this sounds condescending. I'm so sorry.
No.
And it's good to want to stand up for what's right. Like, that's an extremely valuable thing.
Absolutely.
Wanting to point out when there's a bad depiction of a kind of character or a kind of person or a kind of community, and wanting to be an outspoken voice for what's right, for, like, dignity and humanity is a really good thing.
Your heart's in the right place.
The last thing I wanted to talk about with this movie, so much Christmas media has to do with family and how important it is and yada yada. And as someone who has never really been able to relate to stories like that, it is so fucking refreshing to see a Christmas movie with a focus on found family.
Oh, yeah. It's so incredibly heartwarming in that lens.
It truly is.
It's a Christmas miracle.
It's a Christmas miracle. But no, stories of found family are like queer coded inherently.
Oh yeah.
Which makes me feel fantastic because, you know, I have my own found family and I'm very happy with them. I love them dearly. And so seeing someone else find love and acceptance through their new family is deeply emotional. It makes me feel a whole lot of ways.
Genuinely. Whether it was because of a misunderstanding, or it's a temporary thing, or it's something about who you are, or something about something you did in the past, no matter how bad, there's really love for everybody to be found in the world.
Yeah, everyone deserves to be loved. Found family gives you that love no matter what has happened.
This is such a good fucking movie.
It's such a good movie.
And I don't want to toot our collective horns or anything, but I think that was a good fucking podcast episode.
I think it's pretty good.
I think so too.
MaeMae, where would audiences need to go if they wanted to see more of us?
They would go to @weeb.bluesky.social.
And if you have questions, suggestions, feedback, any of that sort of thing, we have a mailbox that is theweebeers@gmail.com. Cheesecake, it was lovely to have you on again. I hope we can have you again soon. Potentially for more Satoshi Kon things, because that seems a need in your life.
I do like psychological anime, sometimes.
We've had you on for 2 cozy subjects. We need to make you suffer next time.
Suffer. Can I come for the suffering? I want to suffer with
My
Cheesecake.
favorite anime is Madoka Magica.
Oh my god, same.
I think I'll be alright. But it was lovely to be here again, of course.
Listener, if you enjoyed Cheesecake as much as we enjoyed Cheesecake, once again, where is that they can find you?
Twitch.tv/Crystal Cheesecake. You can also find me on Blue Sky under the same name.
Usual stuff. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd really appreciate it if you could share us around social media, tell your anime-loving friends, leave a comment, review, hit that subscribe, hit that like, all that fun stuff that makes our numbers get bigger. We like big numbers.
Number go burr.
Number go burr. Make our number go burr. Put our number out in the cold.
Oh no.
No, not like a baby.
Not like a baby in the trash.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas. This is such a heartwarming episode.
Merry Christmas, everybody.